What would you do if the person you love most in the world became unrecognizable? I don't just mean different, I mean monstrous. That's the chilling question at the very core of Franz Kafka's masterpiece, The Metamorphosis. We're going to dive into how this story is about so much more than just a man turning into a bug. It's really about the shocking transformation of human empathy when it's put under pressure.
And just like that, with one of the most famous opening lines in all of literature, we are dropped right into Gregor Samsa's bizarre new world. There's no explanation, no warning, just boom! He's a giant insect. That's his reality now. Now, you'd think the story would immediately dive into the physical horror, right? The shell, the legs, all of it. But this is where Kafka's genius really shines. The initial focus isn't on the monster's body, but on the surprisingly, well, human thoughts that are bouncing around inside that monstrous shell.
I mean, just look at this disconnect. It's completely absurd. On one hand, he has an armor-plated back and tons of spindly little legs. But on the other hand, what's he worried about? Missing the 5 a.m. train? Making his boss angry? Paying off his parents' debt? His body has undergone this impossible transformation, but his mind is still trapped in the same old anxieties of his soul-crushing job.
And that's the key, isn't it? His very first thought is about work. So in a way, his life had already dehumanized him, turning him into just a cog in a machine. His whole identity was just about his job and his ability to provide. It really makes you wonder, was he already a bug in the system long before his body caught up?
So while Gregor is having this very strange personal crisis inside his room, outside that locked door, his family is starting to worry. And their reactions are going to set the stage for the whole tragedy of the story, that slow, painful breakdown of empathy. And it all starts with the simple, normal sounds of a family waking up.
Listen to that. That's the sound of the before, the last little moment of total normalcy. Just a mom calling to her son with absolutely no idea of the nightmare on the other side of the door. This is our baseline. This is the simple, everyday compassion that is about to completely fall apart. As everyone gets more and more agitated, Gregor puts himself through this heroic struggle just to turn the key in the lock. And why? What's his motivation? Not to escape. It's to reassure them, to explain what's going on, calm everybody down, and get back to his responsibilities. His humanity, his concern for their feelings is still running the show. And bam, there it is, the first verdict from the outside world. Before anyone even lays eyes on him, the manager, who's really a symbol for that cold, uncaring world of business, he completely denies Gregor's humanity, just based on the sound of his voice. He plants this little seed of doubt for the family. Maybe that thing in there isn't Gregor anymore. So when the door finally creaks open, the reactions are just immediate and devastating. His mother's shock, totally understandable, she just collapses. The manager, he's out of there, runs for his life. But his father's reaction? Oh, that's the one that tells you everything. It's not just fear, it's hostility, it's aggression. He doesn't see his son who needs help. He sees a threat that needs to be driven back with a cane. So the initial explosion of shock is over, and what's left is this new, terrible routine. As we watch the days and weeks crawl by, we're going to see the heartbreaking decay of this family's empathy, as the brother they once loved becomes a chore, then an embarrassment, and finally, just a burden.
You can literally watch empathy die in slow motion here. It starts with a sweet gesture from his sister, Grete. She brings him his favorite drink. But pretty soon, that care turns into this kind of detached experiment, figuring out what garbage he likes to eat. Then, it's just neglect. His room becomes a dumping ground. And finally, his situation becomes so normal that a total stranger can just waltz in and call him an old dung beetle, and nobody bats an eye. And the father's anger, it boils over into actual violence. He literally bombards Gregor with apples. One of them gets stuck in his back and just stays there. It gets infected, it festers, and it becomes this horrible physical symbol of his family's cruelty. It's a wound they inflicted and a wound they refuse to treat. It's a constant, rotting reminder of their rejection.
But here's the most painful, ironic part of the whole story. As his family becomes less and less human in their treatment of him, Gregor's own humanity, his love for them, it never wavers. He's lying there in the dark, wounded, starving, and he still thinks about them with affection. It seems like the real monstrous transformation is actually happening outside of his room.
All right, so all the resentment, the financial problems, the pure exhaustion, it's all been building like a pressure cooker. And now, it's about to explode. This is the moment where everything that's been unspoken is finally said out loud, and that last thin thread of connection is about to be cut. So what is it that finally lures Gregor out of his room for one last time? It's not hunger, It's not anger, it's art. It's the sound of his sister playing the violin. It awakens this deep, fundamentally human need for beauty, for connection. So, in one last vulnerable act, he shows himself. He's not looking for food, he's looking for nourishment for his soul.
And of course, this beautiful moment is shattered. The family's tenants spot him, and they freak out. Faced with being kicked out on the street, his sister Grete, the one who cared for him the longest, she finally reaches her breaking point. And to justify what she's about to say, she has to perform this little bit of mental gymnastics. She has to convince herself that the creature in front of them simply can't be her brother anymore.
And there it is, the final verdict, from his own sister. And just listen to the words she uses. It's so important. Brother becomes monster, and then monster becomes it. With that one little word, it, she finishes the job. She completes his dehumanization. She gives her parents permission to stop putting up with him and to start getting rid of him.
Gregor hears his sister's judgment, and he accepts it. And what comes next is one of the most bone-chilling endings in all of literature. It's this stark, awful contrast between Gregor's lonely death and his family's sudden, shocking new freedom.
After hearing Grete's words, Gregor just turns around and retreats to his room. He gets it. He knows what he has to do. His death isn't a fight, it's a quiet acceptance. And in his final moments, he thinks of his family with deep feeling and love, and he basically decides to just disappear for their sake. It is his last and most human act of self-sacrifice.
And the family's reaction when they find his body? Is it grief? Sadness? Nope, not even close. It's relief. Pure, unadulterated relief. The problem is gone. The burden has been lifted. The father's first words are literally a prayer of thanks. They do not waste a single second mourning him. Their thoughts immediately turn to the future. It's like, okay, that's done. Let's take the day off. They go out for a nice trip to the country. They talk about their new, better job prospects and about moving to a smaller, cheaper apartment, which of course is only possible now that Gregor isn't taking up a room.
And this is the final twist of the knife. As they're sitting on this tram, feeling the warm sun, the parents look over at their daughter Grete, and they see their future. They notice how she's blossomed into a young woman. Her own transformation from a caring sister to a cold survivor is now complete. Their new life, their hope, is built directly on top of Gregor's death.
So at the end of it all, we're left with this one big question. Gregor's change was instant, it was physical, it was horrifying. But was it the real metamorphosis? Or was the true transformation the one that happened to his family? That slow, creeping change from loving people into survivors who could only save themselves by completely and utterly turning their backs on the one who needed their empathy the most.